a white t-shirt with the word killer scribbled on it.
I'm still a dad who spent every day dreaming of walking his daughter down the aisle.
You gonna come down the city and decide you don't like black people, man.
Men at one point even raised his middle finger to victims' families.
Their capture came after an intense manhunt.
At that time, I didn't know. I just felt like one shot.
Right.
But I got 5 times.
When the killer sat motionless, the hopeless parents couldn't hold back their sorrows any longer, losing their anger and charging across the courtroom in a moment of raw, uncontrollable rage.
TJ Lane took off his shirt. Underneath was a t-shirt with the word killer handwritten on it.
As soon as TJ Lane walked in, he was executing his plan, taking off his button-down shirt to reveal this. A white t-shirt with the word killer scribbled on it, showing it off with a smug smile on his face. He wore one like it the day of the shootings.
Here we go with the first one. TJ Lane was a 17-year-old high school student in Chardon, Ohio. On February 27, 2012, he brought a .22 caliber pistol to Chardon High School and started shooting in the cafeteria. Lane killed 3 students that day: Daniel Parmertor, Russell King Jr., and Demetrius Hewlin. He also injured 3 others. After the shooting, Lane ran away, but was caught by the police pretty quickly.
Lane was serving 3 life sentences for the February 2012 murders of 3 students in Chardon High School, east of Cleveland. Witnesses said he just walked into the crowded cafeteria that morning and started shooting.
At first, people needed to figure out why Lane did this. He wasn't known as a troublemaker and had no clear reasons for attacking his fellow students. It made the whole thing even more scary and confusing for the community. Lane was arrested and charged with 3 counts of aggravated murder, 2 counts of attempted aggravated murder, and 1 count of felonious assault. These are severe charges, especially for someone so young. The case went to court, and Lane pleaded guilty to all the charges. However, the court moved straight to sentencing, where things got intense.
You chased him down the hall and fired the last bullet that paralyzed him. Why? Why did you do it? Why?
Throughout their statements, Lane just smiled, and at one point even raised his middle finger to victims' families. And his statement to the court, just too vulgar to say.
Well, it was a very difficult statement to hear and to see its effect on the families. I mean, I don't think anyone could say anything different.
The brother in the courtroom and that did this was not the brother I knew.
On March 19, 2013, Lane showed up for his sentencing hearing. What he did that day shocked everyone. He entered the courtroom wearing a white t-shirt with the word killer written on it in black marker. It was incredibly disrespectful to the victims and their families. But Lane wasn't done. When he was given a chance to speak, he turned to the families of the victims and gave them the middle finger. Then he said something fierce. The hand that pulled the trigger that killed your sons now masturbates to the memory. Fuck all of you.
The teenage suspect in that high school shooting in Chardon, Ohio on Monday was charged today with 3 counts of murder. We asked Michelle Miller to find out what she could about the suspect, TJ Lane. Michelle starts tonight with a march that the high school students held this morning.
It's exceptional for someone to act this way at their sentencing, especially when they've committed such a severe crime. Lane showed no remorse at all for what he'd done. The judge sentenced Lane to 3 life sentences without the possibility of bail. It means he'll spend the rest of his life in prison. Case closed. On number 2, we have the story of Nicholas Cruz, a troubled young man, whose actions on Valentine's Day 2018 forever changed the lives of countless people in Parkland, Florida.
Okay. On that date, on Wednesday, February the 14th, 2018, 4th period, do you remember where you were?
Yes, I was in room 1216 in English class with Miss Haas.
Miss Haas?
Miss Haas.
Okay. Okay, and what happened during 4th period?
During 4th period, it was a normal day at the beginning. Around 2:21, I asked to go to the bathroom. Raised my hand, got the bathroom pass and everything. And I walked out of the classroom, made a left past room 1217, I believe it was, or 1218, both of them. And I saw Martin and Luke, and I high-fived Martin. And I walked by him like it was normal, walked into the staircase, and I walked into a man. He was wearing a maroon shirt with a JROTC shirt with a backpack and a hat on, black pants. He had a rifle in his hands. I was stunned for 1 second, and he said to me, "Get out of here, things are about to get bad." And I walked through the double doors. I sprinted as fast as I can. I was in the room, in the staircase for about 7 seconds. And I ran out, and I ran to the north side gates, it was called our senior lot. And I ran into Coach Feiss. Coach Feiss was unlocking the senior gates, as he normally does with around 20 minutes left to school. And he told me to be calm and get into his golf cart. So I got into his golf cart. He dropped me off in the 1300 building, which was the building adjacent to the freshman building. And he took me in the back there, and then that's when I heard the fire alarm go off when I was standing right in front. And I was hearing shots, and
You were still hearing shots?
I was, as he was bringing me to the door.
When you heard the shots, Mr. McKenna?
I was in the golf cart driving over to the 1300 building.
Okay. And Coach Aaron Feiss was driving the golf cart?
Yes.
Okay.
On that fateful afternoon, Cruz, a former Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School student, arrived at his old campus with a sinister plan. Carrying a semi-automatic rifle and multiple magazines, he stepped out of an Uber ride and walked purposefully toward the school buildings. What followed was a horrifying 6-minute rampage that left 17 people dead and 17 others wounded.
You were shot?
At that time, I didn't know. I just felt like one shot.
Right.
But I got 5 times. So
Pardon?
5 times.
5 times?
Yes.
Where were you shot?
In my leg, my other leg, and the back, and over here in the RPM.
Right. Can you show it to us?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Cruz moved methodically through the hallways and classrooms, firing indiscriminately at students and staff. The sounds of gunshots and screams echoed through the school as panic spread. Some students barricaded themselves in classrooms, while others fled for their lives. The terror only ended when Cruz discarded his weapon and slipped away, blending in with the fleeing crowd.
The defense is maintaining their waiver of a PSI. Mr. Cruz, you're still under oath. Are you in agreement that you're not asking for a PSI in this case? Okay. Is there anything else? All right, he's remanded to the custody of the Department of Corrections. And he's to be given credit in the amount of 1,718 days time served.
Cruz was arrested about an hour later in a nearby neighborhood, and he was identified by an alert police officer who recognized him from security footage.
Last week, I sat with you, Attorney Sachs, in his office. Watched the video of you. I'm glad I get to see your face right now. Of you killing my daughter for the very first time. You see, all those video evidence that was shown in this courtroom, we didn't see it. Maybe that was to protect us, to protect the public, we didn't see it. But heading into this week, I was searching for answers, for clarity. And I sat with Attorney Satz, and I watched you kill my daughter on video. And unfortunately, I saw you killing many of the others as well. I saw you enjoying it. And I saw also what I expected of my daughter, who was the toughest human being on the face of the earth, running for her life down the hallway. And the thing is, my daughter made it to within 1 second of being alive. She actually made it into the stairwell. You shot her with a single shot. You severed her spinal cord, her chest filled with blood, in the stairwell. You did that. You did that to the other 16 as well. After I sat with Mike, I did what I often do. I went to the cemetery, looking for guidance from Jamie, for strength. And I walked away from the cemetery realizing no matter the outcome of the verdict, nothing changed. Jamie's still at the cemetery. Nothing changed. I'm still a dad who spent every day dreaming of walking his daughter down the aisle, who now will have to endure a lifetime of the reality that I won't get to walk my daughter down the aisle.
As investigators got into Cruz's background, a troubling picture emerged. They uncovered a history of behavioral issues, mental health concerns, and disturbing social media posts. Questions arose about missed warning signs and whether the shooting could have been prevented. The case against Cruz began to take shape in the 17th Judicial Circuit Court of Florida in Fort Lauderdale. State Attorney Michael Satz led the prosecution, while Public Defender Gordon Weeks and his team represented Cruz. The gravity of the charges, 17 counts of premeditated murder and 17 counts of attempted murder, ensured that this would be one of the most high-profile cases in Florida's history.
Holy.
Judge Elizabeth Scherer presided over the legal proceedings, which included numerous pretrial hearings and motions.
There should be no shouting out. This needs to be as quiet as a library. There's no printing. Again, when I'm talking, everyone else needs to be quiet and to be seated. And when there's an objection made, everybody needs to stop talking. I don't want any further rude or disrespectful behavior. It's gotten quite out of control. Please do not move about this courtroom without asking permission. Now, I have never been one of those judges that requires, judge, permission to do this, permission to do that, but I don't think I have a choice in this matter. Please do not get up out of your seat unless you either have an emergency or you ask permission.
In October 2021, Cruz pleaded guilty to all charges, a move that surprised many and spared the victims' families a lengthy trial. However, the question of punishment remained. The penalty phase of the trial began in July 2022, with heartbreaking testimony from survivors and family members of the victims. They recounted that day's horror and the loss's enduring impact on their lives. The defense team, meanwhile, argued for life imprisonment without parole. They presented evidence of Cruz's troubled childhood, mental health issues, and possible fetal alcohol syndrome, attempting to paint a picture of a deeply disturbed individual who needed help, rather than execution.
I'm very sorry for all the pain I forced the victims and their families to suffer through. I'm very sorry for stealing the lives of your loved ones. I cannot express how much I regret all the decisions I made leading up to my actions on May 14th. I did a terrible thing that day. I shot and killed people because they were black. Looking back now, I can't believe I actually did it. I believed what I read online and acted out of hate. I know I can't take it back, but I wish I could. And I don't want anyone to be inspired by me and what I did.
Ready for the next one? Let's go. Case number 3 starts with Peyton Gendron, who was a young man whose twisted ideology led to a horrific act of violence that shook the city of Buffalo, New York.
He shot another woman, and then he went in the store and started shooting again.
10 people shot dead and 3 more injured after a gunman opened fire at a Tops Friendly supermarket in a predominantly black neighborhood.
This is the worst nightmare that any community can face.
One's gun secure. One suspect is in custody.
The suspect, identified as 18-year-old Peyton Gendron, has been arraigned on 1 count of first-degree murder and held without bail. Authorities say he drove there from 200 miles away and live-streamed the attack that is now being investigated as a hate crime.
This was pure evil.
On a sunny Saturday afternoon in May 2022, Gendron drove more than 200 miles from his home in Conklin to Buffalo's east side. His destination, Tops Friendly Markets, a supermarket in a predominantly black neighborhood. Dressed in tactical gear and armed with a semi-automatic rifle, Gendron arrived with a purpose: to kill as many black people as possible.
The suspect, wearing body armor and a tactical helmet, first fired at 4 people in the parking lot, killing 3.
We're going to need some officers inside the Tops because we have numerous bodies.
The shooter then entered the grocery store, shooting 9 others, including a retired Buffalo police officer who confronted him. The guard fired multiple shots that hit the suspect, but that didn't stop him. He was wearing protective tactical gear. The heavily armed gunman fatally shooting the guard moments later.
I still don't even believe it happened, actually, that a person would go into a supermarket full of people.
Police arriving at the chaotic scene, taking the alleged shooter into custody.
There were people showing up, asking about their loved ones.
Among the victims, 4 of them store employees.
The 18-year-old began his rampage in the parking lot, then moved inside the store. He targeted black shoppers and employees, live streaming the attack online. In just a few minutes, 10 lives were brutally cut short, and 3 others were wounded. The victims ranged in age from 32 to 86, including beloved community members and a retired police officer working as a security guard. Police quickly arrived on the scene and managed to talk Gendron into surrendering. As investigators dug into his background, they found a disturbing trail of racist beliefs and detailed planning. Gendron had posted a lengthy manifesto online, uniting white supremacist views and detailing his preparations for the attack.
Chaos breaking out in the courtroom early on as a man lunges at the shooter, Peyton Gendron, followed by shouts and sobs as deputies restrained him, and Gendron was removed from the courtroom for his safety. This comes as the family members of the 10 victims murdered in a racist attack inside this Buffalo supermarket finally get their chance to confront the gunman who killed their loved ones.
I will hurt you so bad. You have made me sick. You got my family crying. I miss my sister every day.
19-year-old Peyton Gendron admitting to killing 10 innocent people at a Tops supermarket last May. Gendron even live streaming part of it, motivated by hate and white supremacy.
The case was heard in Erie County Court, with Judge Susan Egan presiding. District Attorney John Flynn led the prosecution, presenting a mountain of evidence that left no doubt about Gendron's guilt or the racist motivations behind his actions. Throughout the legal proceedings, the Buffalo community rallied around the victims' families demanding justice and calling for action against the spread of hate and racism.
I'm not going to be nice. My name is Barbara Massey. I'm Catherine Massey's sister. You killed my sister. Cat, I'm going to tell you about my sister, Cat. Cat weighed 110 pounds, 72 years old. Cat would do anything for anybody, anytime. Cat was intelligent. She was a teacher. She was my best friend. She was anything at any given time. Cat was a protector. Cat liked to be. My son called Cat triple black because she was so proud of her heritage. My nephew said Cat was a saint among sinners. My sister, Catherine Massey, was a great person. don't like black people. Man, you don't know a damn thing about black people. We're human. We like our kids to go to good schools. We love our kids. We never go in those neighborhoods and take people out. Don't do it.
On February 15th, 2023, the day of sentencing, Gendron faced the families of those he had murdered. Surprisingly, he regretted his actions, contrasting his earlier lack of remorse. However, his words did little to ease the immense suffering he had caused. Unmoved by Gendron's late show of remorse, Judge Egan handed down the maximum sentence, life in prison, without the possibility of parole. And that's how it all went.
I'd like to thank you for letting me speak, Your Honor. We are all here because of me today, of what I did. My actions were because of what I chose to do. I could not stop myself, but I am the one who led to why we are here today. I do not diminish any ability to anyone who could have stopped me, of anyone of a school or parents. They did not know, and I did not tell them what I planned to do, so they are not at fault of what I've done. I am a really bad person. I have done terrible things that no one should ever do. I have lied, been not trustworthy. I've hurt many people, and that's what I've done, and I'm not denying it, but that's not who I plan on to be.
On number 4, we have the story of Ethan Crumbley, a 15-year-old whose actions occurred in Oxford, Michigan, on November 30th, 2021.
It's the shocking moment the parents of school shooter Ethan Crumbley confront him for the first time after he murdered 4 students. Why? But the only thing he cared about was his cat, Dexter.
That cold autumn morning, Ethan walked into Oxford High School carrying a backpack with a sinister secret, a 9mm Sig Sauer handgun. As students bustled through the hallways, no one could have predicted the horror that was about to unfold.
James and Jennifer Crumbley had just been told by cops that their son gunned down the students at his high school outside Detroit.
At 12:51 p.m., Ethan emerged from a bathroom and began firing. The sounds of gunshots echoed through the school, sending students and teachers into a panic. In just a few minutes, 4 young lives were cut short: Madison Baldwin, Tate Meyer, Hannah St. Juliana, and Justin Schilling. 7 others, including a teacher, were wounded in the attack.
It's dramatic body cam video of a SWAT team arresting the parents of school shooter Ethan Crumbley. The video was played to the jury at the trial of Ethan Crumbley's mother. It's intended to show how the Crumbleys went on the run following the school shooting, hiding from cops in an artist studio owned by a friend. Jennifer Crumbley is lying on a mattress, apparently pretending to be asleep despite the chaos around her. Cops lift up the mattress they were using to search for weapons.
As the mess reigned, law enforcement quickly arrived on the scene. Ethan surrendered without resistance, but the damage was already done. The tight-knit community of Oxford was left reeling, wrestling with an unthinkable tragedy.
It's the dramatic moment cops capture the fugitive parents of school shooter Ethan Crumbley hiding out in an artist's studio. Today, Jennifer and James Crumbley find themselves on suicide watch in the same county jail as their 15-year-old son. Their capture came after an intense manhunt.
Today I'm announcing charges against the shooter's parents.
In the days that followed, troubling details emerged. Just hours before the shooting, Ethan's parents had been called to the school due to concerning behavior. A teacher had found a drawing by Ethan showing a gun, a bullet, and a person who appeared to be shot, along with disturbing phrases. Despite this red flag, Ethan was allowed to return to class.
You don't stop it. What I heard you stop it.
didn't stop it. Why didn't you stop it? I know what you stop it. Please stop it. Please stop it. Please stop it. Please stop it. Why didn't you stop it, God? Why didn't you stop it? Why didn't you stop it, God? Why didn't you stop it? Why didn't you stop it? You wasn't happy. Why? I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Please, God. I'm sorry. Please. I'm sorry, God. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, God.
The case happened in Oakland County Circuit Court, with Judge Kwame Rowe presiding. Prosecutor Karen McDonald led the charge, painting a picture of a troubled young man who had given numerous warning signs. The defense team, led by Paulette Michelle Lofton, faced an uphill battle, given the evidence against their client.
What's happening to her physically during this time? Is she continuing to bleed?
Yeah, she was continuing to bleed a lot. So
was she in pain?
Yes. Well, at first she wasn't. She couldn't feel anything. And then it started to, the shock kind of started to wear off, I think. So then she started to cry.
I believed he was going to shoot me.
And did he shoot?
He did.
The shooter come out of the bathroom, and I've watched the video so many times. He had a sense about him, like, I don't know, I call it like the proud chest. Like he walked out of there like his head was held high, like he was in charge.
In an unusual twist, Ethan's parents, James and Jennifer Crumbly, also faced charges. Prosecutors accused them of gross negligence, alleging they had bought the gun for Ethan as an early Christmas present and ignored clear signs of his mental distress. As the legal proceedings progressed, the Oxford community rallied together, supporting the victims' families and calling for changes to prevent future tragedies. And here, it came to an end.
In April, he admitted to shooting and killing Bailey and Preston Cope and injuring 14 others at Marshall County High School in 2018.
Our fifth case is the story of Gabriel Parker, a 15-year-old whose actions on January 23, 2018, shattered the peace of Marshall County, Kentucky. That chilly winter morning, Gabriel walked into Marshall County High School carrying a Ruger 9mm pistol. As students gathered in the commons area before class, chatting and laughing, no one suspected the horror about to unfold. At 7:57 a.m., Gabriel opened fire, causing chaos and terror in the crowded space. In mere seconds, 2 lives were cut tragically short. Preston Cope and Bailey Holt, both 15,
18-year-old inmate pled guilty to all 16 charges, including 2 counts of murder for the deaths of Bailey Holt and Preston Cope. Parker walked into Marshall County High School in January 2018 and opened fire, injuring many students as well. 6 of his 14 first-degree assault charges were dropped to second degree as part of the plea deal. He's now facing life in prison with the possibility of parole after 20 years. The Commonwealth's attorney says Cope and Holt's family are relieved and agreed to the plea. Tonight, Holt's aunt tells me the hearing was a small victory, avoiding having to relive the memories in the trial.
This small miracle is just a small step for us to heal. There will never be closure, but like I said, this is something that we've been praying about, and it just came to us, and we are so grateful for that.
Even though it's 20 years from now, she says the family plans to be at each parole hearing to make sure he stays behind bars.
Fell victim to Gabriel's bullets. 14 others were wounded in the frenzied attack, their screams mixing with the sound of gunshots echoing through the school halls.
Today, families of the two victims, Preston Cope and Bailey Holt, were in the courtroom for the hearing. The judge heard testimony from law enforcement describing the moments leading up to Parker's arrest.
I would say within the first 15 minutes or so, we had anywhere from 50 to 60 first responders, law enforcement, paramedics, firefighters. It was an unbelievable response.
As panic spread, students fled for safety, while brave staff rushed to help the injured. Police arrived quickly, and Gabriel was arrested as he tried to blend in with the fleeing crowd.
She was the most precious, beautiful, and selfless soul on this earth, and you took her from us.
There were no mincing words when addressing the gunman who killed her 15-year-old daughter, Bailey Holt. Standing next to her husband, Secret Holt also shared harsh words for his parents.
Their parenting skills are obviously demented and have raised nothing but a worthless demon.
Close to 10 people read statements in front of 18-year-old Gabriel Parker, right before the judge handed down 2 life sentences with the possibility of parole after 20 years. In April, he admitted to shooting and killing Bailey and Preston Cope and injuring 14 others at Marshall County High School in 2018.
The thing we missed about Preston is watching him grow up to be the fine young man that he would have become.
The wounds are still fresh for Preston's family, who said he had a promising future.
I don't see good when I look at Gay Parker. He has no remorse and no conscience. I see evil, pure evil.
Since the case never reached trial, families and the community avoided reliving the traumatizing details.
The case flared in Marshall Circuit Court, with Judge Jamie Jamison presiding. Commonwealth's attorney Dennis Faust led the prosecution, painting a picture of a troubled teen who had meticulously planned the attack. The defense team, wrestling with overwhelming evidence, focused on Gabriel's age and mental state. In the end, courtroom attacks by grieving parents show the raw pain caused by school shootings. While understandable, violence isn't the answer. These emotional outbursts remind us of the deep scars left by these tragedies and the long road to healing for affected families and communities.